Welcome to the Cinematic Doors podcast, a movie review podcast
Woo.
where we review and give our opinions on your favorite movies or ours
Yep.
or whoever's or movies that are bad,
Just movies.
depending on the week, right? And this show is hosted by Jordan Clark, myself, and
Joshua Dore.
this is episode 17. And we are not doing what we said we were going to do. That's usually what we do on the show.
Surprise!
So, well, the Oscars were on. I didn't realize the Oscars were on this weekend. So we are going to do a quick... I didn't watch the Oscars. Josh, did you watch the Oscars?
No.
I don't...
By the time I realized they were on, I actually found they were on because Jordan posted on the Instagram.
Right.
I was like, oh, right. And then I was like busy, so yeah.
That's a good plug, a good segue to remind everyone where you can find all of our content.
This is my favorite part of the
plugs. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can like and share this. Hit that bell. It doesn't mean anything, but hit it. Hit the subscribe button. I think we have 8 subscribers now. So let's get that up there. Let's boost it a bit.
Mm-hmm. We're almost at 10.
I did send it to some of my friends, Josh, like direct message. So we'll see what happens. But
you're finally pulling your weight.
Yeah. But let's keep it going. And so if you're watching on YouTube, you can look at the description down below to see where you can interact with us. You can interact with us by email, cinematicdoors@gmail.com, or you can go to our Instagram at cinematic_doors, or you can go to Twitter at cinematicdoors. And how do you spell doors, Josh?
Dores.
There you go.
Doors.
So
by the way, I've been trying to be really active on Twitter. I've had some polls.
Nice.
I actually posted something today saying it was kind of teasing this. It said, "What are your thoughts on everything, bagels?" And so,
hey, there you go.
It closes on Saturday. But
so go on Twitter.
Yeah. And also, there's a lot of Party Shark love on there.
Yeah, that's good.
We love Party Shark.
There you go. So go on Twitter, answer that poll. I'm actually going to do that, Josh. I'll do it later tonight.
Also, I mentioned you on it, Jordan, because I decided to go through your old tweets.
I know. You pulled up my old non-existent website where I reviewed Mad Max Fury Road.
Well, you reviewed more than that. And I was like, whoa, Jordan was a reviewer before this. Yeah.
Did that website didn't work for you, did it? You just looked at the posts.
I didn't actually click on it.
Yeah, I clicked on it. I'm like, make sure this.
I was like, I don't want to hear Jordan's opinions.
Yeah, and then I had another website called The Weekly Address where I did like politics, news, and culture.
Cool, so much fun.
So I did movie reviews on that as well.
Back in like 2016.
That was 2015 to 2018.
Oh my!
So,
wow.
During the reign of the name we do not mention.
I was like 13 in 2015.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, anyways, that's old news. But I think that's the one website. I don't think I would cover politics anymore, but I like news and culture. I like the name The Weekly Address. I kind of like that. Like it was a play on the presidential weekly address. That's what the play was on. So
I didn't get that.
Yeah, it was fun. Anyways, we all have a past, right, Josh?
Yes, I was pulling it up.
You were pulling it up.
I mean, you like to dox people, so I was like,
you're doxing me. That's fine.
Yeah. He lives on 4756 Krusty Road, Detroit.
Now I live on Krusty Cul-de-sac, Detroit.
Krusty Cul-de-sac. Oh no. Is that the first joke he's ever made?
So how many people have called me Krusty?
I think it's just me and Hannah.
You and Hannah. Didn't Grace say I was Krusty?
Yes.
In that message you sent me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
3 and ongoing.
Yes, 3 and ongoing.
Krusty Jordy.
So Josh, how was your week?
It was good. Honestly, again, I just blinked and I was here. So
yeah.
I don't know. Like it
That's
nothing
life right now.
I don't even remember what I did on the weekend.
Were you living in another universe? Another
Oh,
life?
maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe I ate some chapstick and then
Yeah, I hear you, man. Like I blink and I'm doing like a million things right now too because
yeah.
I'm getting ordained as a reverend.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm like trying to get that application in by tomorrow. I'm pretty much done. I have to do one more quick report,
I
but
think my sister did that online.
what do you mean?
Like,
Your, si-
oh no,
your sister's a
she
reverend?
got no, she did the thing where she could marry people.
Yeah, so you can do that for a day. You can get like a temporary license.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she got one of those.
So just so you know, I think in May, I think it's in May, I get to pick, I think, when I get to do it. But if I pass the theological argument discussion panel thing,
Ooh,
which I think I will,
you're gonna
then
argue your way into there.
well, like the theological board of our denomination, of our church denomination, interviews me, sees to make
Hmm.
sure that we're in line with certain issues and things, and then once I do that, if you ever need someone to sign marriage documents or marry people, I'll be able to do that. So
I
there you
don't know
go.
if I'll trust you.
You'll have
Maybe
the
I'll get my
crusty
sister.
reverend.
Oh gosh, he's gonna go by that name.
I'm gonna get business cards that say that.
You better. We can sell it as merch.
Dude, I'm totally. Oh my goodness, we should make Hannah a shirt or something,
The crusty reverend.
or crusty, whatever.
Well, colossal crust
There
or
we go.
colossal
That's what it
crusty.
was. Yeah.
I think you need that shirt.
Oh, I definitely think I should make it and wear it at camp this summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
that's
first
so
merch.
your week, like you didn't do anything in your week? You're in a coma or what?
I worked.
Yeah.
Uh I had a film exam today.
How did that go?
I don't know. I probably failed it.
Okay, so this class, you were pretty excited for this film class.
I was actually really excited. Well, I was and I wasn't because I was like, this is gonna be an easy class, which it isn't a hard class. It's just so unbearable, and it's
Right.
just
Why is it
they're
why is
like
it unbearable? Is it
I don't know.
the
It just
teacher? Is it
it
the
just takes
content?
movies. It takes movies and just sucks the joy out of it.
Okay.
And it's like I think, and this is something with me. It's just when you make things technical, it just kind of makes it like
So it's
right.
like breaking it down to the
It's
technicalities.
like
It's very
it's almost
clinical.
like
It's very clinical,
yeah, like
formulaic.
you know how you can't really judge art. That's kind of what it is because they're judging art and breaking it down to just this is what this is.
Right.
There's nothing else, and it's
Well,
just
so here's the crazy thing. Okay, so here's this is kind of in line with what you're talking about. Like I you can judge art.
well,
You
yeah.
should be able to judge art. I get what you're meaning, and
But
I think
it's like
honestly, I
it's
think this
taking
is
art.
today's movie is the perfect movie to have this discussion
Yeah.
before we review it. But when I took my screenwriting classes, like I took two of them, and I have the book still. The books are fantastic. I'll probably
Mhm.
actually I can tell you who wrote them because his books are pretty popular.
Was Alfred
It's Sid.
Alfred Hitchcock
It's
Hitchcock.
Sid Feld, but
Oh
I have the
gosh.
books in my other room. I think it's Sid Feld. Anyway, so
I just butchered Alfred Hitchcock's name, by the way.
yeah, I missed it. I wasn't listening.
Good. Good.
So basically, movies back in like from the 50s to the 80s, uh, like movies had to be a certain format to get into the theater. So your
Mhm.
movie couldn't be longer than 2 hours. And you had to have credits rolling at the beginning of your film to start the film, like a certain amount of credits, and the certain credits had to be in there, and then you could put the rest
Mhm.
in the back. So that counted as your runtime, and credits in
Oh.
general counted as your runtime because they were so worried about filling the theaters and getting a certain amount of people in the theaters to make sure the theaters could stay running. It was a very business
Mhm.
like mentality because they wanted a certain amount of turnover, right? That's why now there's so many 3 hour movies. Back then there wasn't. There was like an hour and a half, 90
Yeah.
minutes, 2 hours at most. And every piece in your screenplay, like a page in your screenplay is a minute.
Oh.
That's like the rule. So you should,
Wow.
yeah, a page of your screenplay is a minute.
Hmm.
So it breaks it down to, now I find that so fascinating, especially knowing that when it comes to writing, and like that's just the first principle of writing. Now there's,
Yeah.
like writing action and stuff. There's a whole technique to that, and like how you visualize the action while writing it with the dialogue, and it's insane
Hmm.
how people write movies, especially
I think,
a movie like this. But anyways, yeah.
yeah.
So I
I
like
think,
that kind of stuff, but I get what you're saying. Like it's
yeah,
very
and
clinical.
I think there are parts of it that are really interesting, but it comes down to like she's getting us to just memorize what different angles are called,
Right.
and it's like this is this, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. This is, I don't care what angle this is.
Right.
And like there's parts of it where it's like this is what this represents, but like for the most part it's just like this is an open scene, and
Yeah.
I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? I like the fact where it was like a top down angle or like an angle looking up
Yeah.
represents like
Like
power in that.
eye level shots
Yeah,
and low
and so
angle
like that
shots.
is kind of interesting, but then there's all these things where I'm just like, ugh, whatever. I don't care.
Well, I don't.
And it's just,
There's like a blur.
it's
Yeah.
also, yeah.
You keep going. Sorry, Josh. Cutting you off.
It's also like at the end of my day,
Yeah.
it's 3 hours long, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, stop. I don't care. And so I don't know. It's just
Well, and
it's
a lot
boring.
of those film shots do convey themes and even what
Hmm.
the character is feeling, right?
And the yeah, and I get that, and I think it's interesting, but I just think it takes away from um my movie experience. Because if I'm just
Right.
focusing on, oh, that's what this angle means, then I'm not really getting what it is trying to do. So it's like I know that it's doing that, but it doesn't affect me because I know what is doing that, if that makes sense. So it's
Yeah.
like when I'm watching things and it's like looking up, like I know just without thinking that it's like, oh, it's the power dynamic, or when it's like
Right.
looking down on something. And so there's a power dynamic in that. But it's like when you really just, you're like, this is a power dynamic, and you just make it concrete in that way. I'm just like, well, now I just don't care because you just concrete, you solidified it,
Okay.
and now it can't mean anything else. And so, and I get that directors use that to tell their story,
Yes.
but I like the fact that movies are open to interpretation in a way, and there
Well,
is
all
like
art
something you
is,
follow,
even
but
if
there's
you.
also freedom.
So this is the beauty. So I'm going to build on that a bit and rebut you a little bit. Not really, because I get what you're saying. The thing that I love about art, like why I love movies, why I love storytelling, why I love, because like I'm working on a novel very slowly, but I've given my
Hmm.
novel to someone I know very closely and that I trust. And from his reading of the novel, so like even from when I first started writing it, so many of the characters have changed since I like first
Yeah.
outlined them. And that's, what's crazy about art is like in my head, and this is why the power of our brain and imagination is just phenomenal. Like the characters are actually, to me, they feel alive, like they feel living.
Hmm.
And when I change something in the story and then it affects the rest of the story, it's like this weird, it's such a crazy feeling. And then now I'm getting this other input from this friend of mine. So once your
Hmm.
art goes out into the wild a bit, right, it does
Yeah.
become something other than you intended it to be.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it can still exist in the intended state you intended it to be while being that other thing,
It exists in multiple universes.
based on perspective and interpretation, right? So it's that is the power of storytelling, right? And that
Hmm.
is why, I mean, Josh, our whole lives are based around storytelling. All of us have a
Yes.
beginning, a middle, and an end. I mean, I firmly
Yeah.
believe that's how God created the world, right? In that sense,
I won't be able to tell the story of the end for me.
right? But we all,
I won't be able to end my
and
story.
then you have an inciting incident in many parts of your life where you are driven to do something, and that's a
Yeah.
very important piece of film writing, is an inciting incident, right? Like something that kicks off the problem and the tension and the conflict of the story,
Yeah.
and that's what drives the characters to go on their journey and that's where they find their
Mm-hmm.
motivation, right? So we all have that, and that's why I love I love film, because someone once said film is very shallow because it's a lot shorter. I don't agree with that necessarily. It's just different. It's different than literature.
Yeah.
It's not the same type of art form, obviously, on the surface, but in the conveying of images and the way images are put together and edited, and like you can edit a scene and totally change the whole feeling just from one edit. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can change a whole dynamic,
Yeah.
you can change the whole feeling of a whole movie just by throwing a different color grade on your editing process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like
And I think
it's so
that's
interesting.
it's really interesting. It's just I the way that it's told, and for me,
Right.
like my creative process is just a lot different. Like I think it just like happens, and so like if it just so happens to be that way, and you can call it chance, but like I just like to be able to just do my thing and try to portray it my way. And so like when you're like almost bringing in the technicalities of it, then it's almost like, oh well, now I can't do this because I won't be able to portray it any other way, or like no one will understand if I don't use this low angle cut,
Right.
whatever. And so it's like for me, I just like the idea, and it's the same thing with photography for me. It's like once I was like, I never want to take a photography class because I feel like as soon as I know the technicalities, I'm gonna lose the passion because
Okay.
it's the unknown and the freedom in it. Just like the thought of film just being like anyone can do it. You don't need to know all these things. That is
I mean,
what is
you don't
exciting.
need to,
And yeah, I know. I
like
know. It's
Quentin
just
Tarantino is the best filmmaker of our time in my opinion. And not just my opinion, and many opinions. And
mhm.
he worked in a video rental store. And he
Yeah.
was like you. He didn't know any of the technical terms. He learned them
And
by like researching them
yeah.
himself, and he literally loved film. And I
Mhm.
think these directors, the Daniels, are similar because you can see a lot of their influences in their film that they grew
Yeah.
up watching. And Tarantino has taken that and like, so like that is someone who has no film school experience. And I think that's actually why he's one of the best filmmakers, because his
Mhm.
movies are so unique and he created a whole genre based
That is
on
what
his film, like his
that
writing
just
style.
backs my opinion. It's just I think there's more. I think for me and my idea of creativity,
Right.
it doesn't fall into line with technicalities. And so I just like to be as free as I can within it.
Okay.
And like one day I want to make myself a short film. Like I don't know what it will be. It's going to be super low budget. I'm not making it because I want to make money. It's just I want to make it cuz I want to make it. And
It
so
is fun. It's a fun process.
and like it's fun, and so
Yeah.
and like even you and I have talked about making the mobile tree one day. And so
Maybe I should start writing something and throw it at your way. It's just a rough
maybe, and
draft.
then I'll just criticize it. But like it's just I like the idea of being having creative freedom,
Right.
and like and so this film class takes that and it makes me tired and bored, and
Right.
it's honestly like I'm really happy that I'm still able to enjoy it. Like I have a podcast on the side. It's like I go to this, and so like I'm glad that this class isn't making me hate movies, because I
Right.
mean I'm at the point where nothing can really make me hate movies or like stories because I'm just so
And you won't.
in
If
it.
your love is there for that
Yeah.
thing, like I
And
grew up
so
watching movies. I have many moments in my life that really movies have influenced my life in a lot of ways. Like I
mhm,
remember watching Jurassic Park for the first time. I was like 9 years old. My grandpa had a surround sound system. That's the first time I ever heard sound, because I hadn't really gone to the theater before that a whole lot. It was the first
yeah.
time, and the theaters I went to were not necessarily surround. They were just stereo or mono. So
Mhm,
the sound was coming from the front because we went to really low budget
mhm.
theaters because we didn't have a lot of money. So this is the first time I heard sound behind me, like
Oh wow.
in a living room,
I
especially, right?
I could
So
actually tell you my first Jurassic Park experience too, because we had it on VHS, and I didn't realize that like you had, or I don't think anyone in my family except for my parents realized that you have to rewind it. So I put the tape in, and it was
so
at some
crazy.
random part in Jurassic Park, and
Oh
it
man.
terrified me. Also, my first theater experience was also my first theater experience that I remember. was Minions, or not Minions, Despicable Me.
That's
And it was
awesome.
in 3D. And I remember vividly the part where he lands after stealing the moon or whatever. Not really stealing
Right.
the moon. Where he goes to the recital and like the ship was like this close to my nose. I was like, whoa, I can almost reach it. I wish 3D was still interesting to me like that, but
No, yeah.
yeah.
I it's so interesting. It's so funny hearing you talk about VHS because like I grew up with that, right? So,
I didn't learn
but
until
you
this
all
year.
didn't really grow up with that, so
I didn't know until this year that you had to rewind them.
yeah. And we would rent them from the store, and then
And I
you would get a charge on your account if you didn't rewind it, bringing it back.
really,
Yeah, they would
because
charge you an
I
extra
at
$2.
my work, I was like rewinding The Grinch, and all these kids were like, "What are you doing? Why are you rewinding it?" And I'm
Yeah,
like trying to explain to them that
yeah.
you have to rewind it, and it did not click in their brain. And I understand like that never I never thought of that as a kid.
So
I was
we
never told that
always
as a kid.
we and then your VHS player, your VCR
Yeah.
uh, device, you could buy VCRs that could tape stuff off the TV directly onto a blank
Hmm.
videotape. So you could buy blank videotapes, and then you could also so if there was like if you didn't want to buy a movie, they would show movies on TV. So you would
Hmm.
just record it from the TV onto your VHS and like rip it.
You steal it.
And then we did that all the time. And then another thing about VHS, I had it on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember anymore. But yeah, it's super funny. Oh yeah, we always had to watch the previews because we always had low budget VCRs. So you could buy VCRs
Yeah.
that were better at rewinding, like faster. That was actually a selling point. Like there were VCRs that
Really?
would sell you on we
Rewind's
rewind
fast.
faster, or yeah, or some VCRs had two slots. So you have a slot that would play your tape,
Whoa!
and then you could rewind the tape at the same time, like in a like another movie that you just watched. You could rewind it while you're watching one.
Whoa!
Yeah. So there was like different levels of VCRs, and like it was pretty
Wow.
hardcore.
The VCR pyramid scheme.
Yeah, there you go. Man,
Different
those are the
level.
days. Like I remember the internet when the internet was first
I
invented.
grew up with CDs, so
Yeah.
or
So,
discs or DVDs or whatever they're called.
and it was so funny because every time there was a new leap in technology, we always thought it wouldn't catch. So like when CDs, when the first MP3 came out, we were like, oh, people won't do MP3 players, and then the iPod came out and it just killed everything, you know. Uh
Yeah.
like everyone had an iPod, like a Nano, you know, like that was a big thing in my high school. And
I never had one of those.
yeah, I had one of those
I went straight
iPods
to
with like the click
screen.
wheel. So it had like a screen, but it had like the wheel on
Oh
it.
my gosh.
And I had like 1,000
Huh.
songs on there. It was awesome.
Did you also get those illegally?
No. Well, I had LimeWire, so some of them, yeah. Do you know what LimeWire is?
No.
So LimeWire is like it's similar to Napster, except LimeWire was way more under the radar than Napster, so you could download a lot more songs for free and rip them. Yeah. So my computer
Wow.
probably had a ton of viruses,
Oh,
but I don't
this is
care.
just making you seem more crusty,
I am crusty,
like
man. That's
old
why I'm here.
crusty,
So
old crusty.
Oscars, you didn't watch Oscars. I didn't watch Oscars. We don't really care about the Oscars,
No,
so we're not really going to talk about the Oscars. But there
I
was
literally
one.
just care about what the
Just
movies
wait.
are.
There was one movie that absolutely destroyed at the Oscars this year. Do you know that movie? What
What
movie that
movie was that,
was?
Jordan?
What movie was it?
Oh no, what was it? What movie,
Everything,
Jordan?
everywhere, all at once. This little movie by A2, produced by
Yep,
A24, directed and written by
yep.
the Daniels, who wrote Swiss Army Man and directed.
Yeah, woo!
So do you want
Oh
to
my
talk
gosh,
about
that's two good
Josh? Do you
movies.
want to talk about the other movies? I didn't think about that. Do we want to talk about the other movies that were
What?
nominated for Best Picture?
I don't know what
I don't really.
movies were.
Yeah, we're not prepared for that. So
Whatever. No, whatever. I have one last thing to say before we go on to this movie.
okay.
Okay? And this is something you've been getting after me. I started playing the game for The Last of Us.
Oh, thank you for reminding me because I need to
Yeah.
do a shout out. You go. You go.
Okay, so I've been playing the game. I've actually been really invested.
The first game.
Also, yeah. And it's like, this game gives me so much stress because it's
so
like,
good.
no, I don't know. Like I just got to the point, which I guess maybe spoiler. It's at the university, and like this is at this time. Like I was just like, oh no, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I run into the clickers or whatever they're called. Like it just stresses me out every time. So I just like burned them all, blew them up. I was
You
like,
don't
I don't want to go near you.
you
Just
don't like scary games,
huh?
right? Is that
No,
you
like
that doesn't like them?
I'm totally fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I told you about Resident Evil, but I'm
right,
totally fine watching scary movies. Like
right.
they don't affect me. When it comes to the game, I don't know what it is. I just immerse myself so much that I just get stressed and
Well, you're playing it like it's interactive, right? So it is
yeah, like
different than a
I'm
movie.
living that life. And so like Last of Us is no stranger to freaking me out. And so but it's so good. I've been
Yeah.
really enjoying
The
it.
Last of Us
And I
is like
saw
proof that games are art. Like it's one of those games that
yeah,
I show people that don't play games to show
even
them
though
how they've
Ellie
evolved.
looks so uncanny sometimes. Like
Yeah,
she's just her
are you
face.
playing part one? Like, are you playing the
Yeah,
redone version?
it's remastered. So
So yeah,
it's not the PS5
no,
one
that's what I
because
mean.
that's
So you're not playing the part
$80.
one. You're playing like the
No.
original remaster.
So
Yeah,
it would have looked better in that one
yeah,
because I got this one for free,
yeah, yeah.
the remastered one, and I'm not spending $80
And that
for
one is still
the same
good. When
game.
you play the second one, you will see the leap in fidelity because I just
Yeah.
finished the show. So I'm like, oh my
Is the show
goodness,
done?
it's done. And I just watched the finale this week and I was like, I need more Last of Us. So I've only played the second game once. So I started playing the second
Hmm.
game just to see if because I'm pretty mixed on the second game. I didn't hate it. It's very
Yeah.
good. The fidelity, the gameplay is just way better than the first one. And like, man, that game looks incredible. Like when you play it, when you should play the second one after this one,
Oh,
or
I will. I will.
it's long and it's a bit of a slog. It's not as good of a tight story as the first one. I still like it. I'm going to see if I like
Yeah.
it more or less, kind of removing myself from all the drama that came around it when it released. So,
Hmm.
anyways,
Yeah. See, I'm going into it completely
so the
blind.
Last of
So
Us show, I wanted to talk. I know it's 30 minutes in, but I don't care. It's our podcast. So,
it's my
man, okay. So
podcast.
this thing is on HBO. This
Yeah.
show is I cannot. Okay, so I text you on Sunday, and I was like,
Hmm.
Josh, you need to watch Last of Us. Like, you need to watch this show because I was behind on episodes, so I watched episode 8 on Sunday during the day,
Yeah.
and I think that's right around like afternoonish. That's when I text you. But man, this show is, first of all, I don't think I've ever seen anything that is this sad. Like it is
Oh.
like
Oh
the
no.
game is sad, but like
Oh no. Why
in
would you say that?
episode, I'm not going to spoil anything. In episode 9, there is a
This game
moment,
is messing with my emotions.
dude. Well, like, so the show, like, there was this because they add stuff. Like the show is amazing. If you have any interest, anyone listening in the zombie genre or just the post-apocalyptic genre, it's not
Yeah.
really a zombie show. Like the game is actually more zombie-like than the show. That's one of my
And even then the game isn't as zombie as I
no,
thought it
it's
was gonna
infected
be.
people. They're infected with a virus.
Yeah.
It's similar to 20 Days Later in that way, which I think is much more
Hmm.
compelling. And it's like a fungal virus. So what's really cool is this virus actually
Not
exists.
very fun guy.
No, that's terrible. This fun guy doesn't. It actually exists in the real world. It just doesn't
Oh.
affect humans. So it actually
Oh. That's
it's
cool.
a predator for ants. So you can look this up. It literally turns ants into zombies, just like this show.
Just wait until it actually does affect humans.
Well, that's the creators of the game and the show. That's the whole. They literally were sitting around and they were like, "What if this actually like?" They're watching the YouTube like video on this or the National Geographic, and literally the one director was like, "What if this happened to humans?" And that's how the whole game started. Was like off
Wow.
that notion. So
Crazy.
this fungi gets into your body, infects you, like takes over your brain, turns you into this like zombie. And the clickers are like the full stage of infection. So your
Yeah.
like face looks like a big
That's
mushroom,
when the
and
party starts.
they can't see because it
You
takes
got the
over their
fun
face.
guys. Sorry, I won't make that joke again.
Anyways, that's like the basis. So like the whole world is lost because of this, and watching this post pandemic is interesting as well. So,
Right.
anyways, everyone should, like, if you're interested in this genre, watch this show. It's
Hmm.
such an emotion. Like, I had problems with it. It's not perfect, obviously, but like I wanted it to be one episode longer. It's a little too quick. The ending is a little too quick,
You
in my
don't feel like
opinion.
they're really long? Like the episodes are all an hour and a half,
No,
aren't
they're
they?
not. No, like the last episode of
Oh.
this whole season is 45 minutes, or 50
Oh.
minutes. The longest episode is the first one. It's an hour and a half. I wanted all of them to be an
Right.
hour and a half because the thing that the writers get really well, do really well, is the small little moments. And man, they're so
Hmm.
good at writing dialogue, and just like little. You have this big, huge event, but you have these moments that are so full of emotion, both good, bad emotion, sad, happy, and it just kind of shows you what the world would actually look like if this happened. I think
Yeah.
it's the most realistic type of show in this genre. Like, humans act the way they would actually act. The show is all about loss, right? Experiencing
Hmm.
loss. And there was like, I had to pause the last episode of the season. It is really sad, the beginning. Like,
Oh,
I was
Jordan,
actually crying. Like, I was,
maybe this will be my time to shine and cry.
it was
My
Josh.
time
It
to
was
cry.
like, it is devastating, this show. And there's moments
Whew.
that are euphoric and
I don't know if
really
I'm ready.
happy, but then they just get ripped. They rip your heart out, because
Well, I feel like that's kind of the game.
that's what that world would be like. That's what it would be like.
Yeah.
It's such a, things can change on a dime, right? And that
Hmm.
it's, anyways, it captures what it would actually be like so well. Um, yeah, there's, for those who would care, there is now. I think the show has some of the best gay representation I've seen on film, probably the most
Yeah.
realistic. Um, so if you don't like
That's
that,
even a good
if you
segue.
don't like that kind of thing, then just, there is that in there. Um,
Hmm.
and you know what? The crazy thing about it is that in that world, it actually makes, in my mind, it makes a lot of sense, because some people are so lonely, especially in a world like that where you're not around a lot of people, right? And so falling in love with someone because that's the only person you've seen in 10 years kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
But it does have really tasteful, really good representations in that regard. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but those are still people, right? And people are living, that's what they do. And so this show does a good job of portraying that, I think, in a tasteful way. And man, like, there's one episode in the show, it's all about this relationship between these two men, and it is like just phenomenal. It's so good.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really good. So I really recommend it.
Yeah.
And it'll make you thankful for what you have, because of
Like
how
in
devastating it
family.
is. Yeah. So
You know what?
that is a good,
That
that is a
was
good
a
segue.
great segue. Being thankful for what you have. Good gay representation. Onto the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang.
Mrs. Wang, are you with us?
I am paying attention.
Now, you may only see a pile of receipts, but I see a story. I can see where this story is going. It does not look good.
What's happening?
Evelyn, I'm not your husband. I'm another version of him from another universe. I'm here because we need your help.
Very busy today. No time to help you.
Across the multiverse, I've seen thousands of Evelyns. You can access all of their memories, their emotions, even their skills. evil, spreading throughout the many verses. And you may be our only chance of stopping it.
Okay, you're leading the way, Josh.
Oh gosh,
That's the first time
I don't
you've
even know what
led.
to say.
That's the first time you've led into our clip of the trailer. So.
Wow, I'm growing up. So Jordan, what did you think of this movie?
Okay, let's see. Let's just go through who made it first. I mean, we already said that, I guess.
Daniel and
Daniel Scheinert, the Daniels, produced
Yes.
by Joe Russo, Anthony Russo.
Or are they gonna say Joe Rogan?
Do you know who those are? Those people are?
They sound familiar,
Yeah,
I don't think it's
writers
just
and co-writers and directors of
Karate Kid.
Captain America: Winter Soldier,
Oh, not that Russo.
Infinity War, and
Wow.
Endgame.
That's crazy.
There you go.
Wow.
The Russo
Did not know
brothers.
that.
So they produced this movie. So when the credits hit the screen and I saw they produced it, I was like, whoa.
Wait, are we
That's-
talking first credits or second credits?
The final credits. Yes.
Okay.
So what we'll do for this movie, Josh, is we'll give our overall thoughts. I'll start because you asked me, but we are going to have a spoiler section because I think a lot of people are going to be wondering because this movie won Best Picture. It won everything pretty much that it could have won at the Oscars.
Yeah, seven awards.
Yeah, so we'll give you our overall thoughts in case you're just wondering from our side of the aisle if you're wondering if you should watch it or not, and then we'll go into spoilers. So
You should watch it.
This section will be pretty short, but that's who made it. That's who wrote it. This movie has starring in it Michelle Yeoh, who I love. She's Emily Wang or Evelyn Wang. Sorry, she's from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Who's Emily?
Oh, I just got the name wrong. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is one of the best martial arts movies. It's in my top 10 of best movies of all time. That movie is fantastic. And she's also in Shang-Chi, which is the first kickoff to Phase 4 of Marvel. Yeah. And she was very good in that.
Know that.
So she is like the kung fu kind of guru actress. Fighter. Like she's amazing. And I love her and everything she's done. She's done a lot of cameo work in a lot of Jackie Chan movies and that kind of stuff too. So some people even call her the female Jackie Chan, or Jet Li. So she's very prominent. And so I've always wanted to see this movie because of her, because I love her. Ki Huai Kwan, who plays Waymond, is from the Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. He is the short round kid. He's short round from that movie. Yeah, man.
What?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know any of this.
Your mind is like, and then James Hong is in this movie, who is a legend. I saw him show up in the movie. I'm like, oh my goodness, he plays the father, like the estranged grandfather, right?
Oh, I don't know.
And he's in Chinatown. He's in like every classic Hollywood movie. He's got so many credits. So he's in it. Jamie Lee Curtis. Stephanie Sue is the daughter who plays Joy.
By the way, Stephanie Sue was so... Oh my god.
So what do I think about this movie, Josh? I did not like Swiss Army Man.
No, you did not.
And I didn't even realize the same people made this movie, but I have wanted to watch this movie for so long. I just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah.
Man, this movie is awesome. Like this movie is, okay. So I have problems with it, but it's not really going to affect my score a whole lot. This movie is not a 5 out of 5 for me. I'm just going to say that. I still think like Top Gun, I rated 5 out of 5. Yeah. I still think Top Gun is better, but not by much. And you can't really compare the two movies because they're two totally different movies.
What movie can you compare this to?
So this movie is, I'm going to start with how I felt watching it. This movie is a ride. Like this movie is,
I
had my headphones on and I'm watching it downstairs. I have a big TV, so I feel like I'm in the theater, right? And it feels,
I watched this movie in theaters.
Yeah, okay. So this movie is a lot. Like it is like, this movie isn't for everyone. Not everyone is going to like it. But this movie is just like, almost like when I was watching it, it felt like candy to me. Like everything I love about film was exploding off the screen, making me emotional. I was laughing out loud. I'll get to some of the
Yeah.
humor because I didn't love all the humor. Mainly the juvenile-esque sexual humor, like Swiss Army Man. I still don't like I think these two men are just very immature when it comes to some of their humor, but
Yeah.
a lot of it was funny. And there is, like, disclaimer, there is a lot of irreverent stuff in this movie when it comes to just sexual nature. Um, there's quite a bit of swearing, so this isn't for kids.
Yeah.
And if you
Oh,
don't
yeah,
like
don't show this to your children.
if you don't like sexual jokes, don't watch this movie, or like know going in that there's a bit of sexual humor in it. That I didn't
Yeah,
like
I'd
that
say-
part, but it's not a big part of
Yeah.
the movie.
I'd say it's easy to like look past it though.
Yes, it is.
Or like
It's there though, and
Yeah.
like one of the scenes is absolutely insanely outrageous. Like that part was funny, and we'll get to that. But it's this movie is just like, I don't know, like this is the Asian Matrix. This movie, like that's what this movie is.
oh my gosh.
This is it's just like the Matrix. I had such Matrix vibes at the beginning, and I remember
I haven't finished The Matrix, so
well, I remember first watching The Matrix and I was like blown away. This movie blew me away in the same way, where I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Are they doing this? Why is this working so well? And then when it got emotional and it honed in on what the movie was about, like, and the music's swelling and it's like slowed right down for those
Oh.
moments, and it hits you. Like, it's really well acted. It's really
Yeah.
well done. The 5 people, I did research on this movie. I was like up till like 2 a.m. 5 people did the visual effects for this film, which is insane. So like when you
Wow.
research some of this,
So it's a small cast.
well, when you research some of the special effects, how they achieve the
And-
effects in this movie, it's
yeah.
in a lot of it is practically based, and it's incredible. Like
Mhm.
it's so this movie
And,
looks so unique.
And a lot of it was during COVID,
Yes.
so it's like
so they show you how they
it's
filmed
even
some of
more
that.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so this movie
Wow.
is just like, it is such a gem of a movie. I can't believe I didn't watch this earlier, to be honest. I cannot wait to watch it again. That's how I feel coming out of it.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now.
Yeah. And like, honestly, the way this movie looks, there are sequences in this movie with the editing and the quick shots. And like, this movie is basically, before we get into spoilers, this movie is a parable for the internet age. The multiverse in this movie, because it's a multiverse film, that's in the trailers, so it's not a spoiler.
Mhm.
It reminds me of a comment on internet culture and how we have access to so much globally now because of the internet. And
Yeah.
this movie goes so quick between scenes at times, and the way it's choreographed, the way it's shot between the sequences, where Swiss Army Man felt very novice and like I wasn't impressed with what it was trying to do. It just didn't feel very well crafted. This is like the exact opposite. Like, this is like night and day for me. I cannot even believe how some of the stuff was put to film in this movie. Like, there were sequences similar when you're on a roller coaster and your like literal breath is taken away. There were sequences where my mouth was open and I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
how, like, this looks so good. Like, there's like one of those moments was when she's looking through the multiverse and the screen's all cracked so you can see her in different verses. I think it's just 2 at the time. And she says something and the subtitle is refracted in the cracks between the multiverses. So you can like, even the subtitle is like refracted between the verses and like stuff like that. Like, I rewound it and watched that part again. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really cool. So like this movie, visually speaking, is something I've never seen before. It's very unique. I don't think it's as original as a premise as everyone thinks it is. We'll get into that. But the way it's executed is just, this movie is so well executed. It's really well done. So I love this movie. I think I have issues we'll get into when we critique it, into the spoiler territory. But overall, like, I can't believe I missed this movie.
Yeah, you really slept on it.
I did. I don't know why I never watched it. I was busy, and I saw Nope and Top Gun, and I wasn't holding off on this movie. I did want to see it. So I don't know why I never got to it, but anyways, this film is fantastic. It is, for anyone that loves film, it's a must watch. For the
Yeah.
average moviegoer, you're not going to like it. So even though
You know what?
yeah,
Actually, okay, you know what? This is something, so I watched this with my mom the second time.
okay,
I actually watched it with two people who like aren't like super into movies,
okay,
and both of them enjoyed it. So I asked my
oh, good.
mom to text me something like what she thought, and at first she was like, I don't know. Like I don't even know what to say. Like I just, and this is the same thing that I like when I watched it the first time, my mind was blown. So I watched it in theaters because I did not sleep on this movie. I heard it was good and I went to see it. Last movie in one of our local theaters. And it was just like after I was just like jaw dropped. Like, what did I just watch? That
Yeah.
was beautiful. Like this was my favorite movie of 2022. I liked it more than Top Gun. And like I remember the person I went with, Sophie, which is actually like one of our biggest supporters.
And we went to Nope
Hi,
with her.
Sophie. Yeah. And so Sophie, she was like, I need time to think on this. And like after a bit, maybe like a week or something, she was like, that was really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And then I asked my mom and I was like, so she texted me and I was like, I hope you have your text ready. And she's like, no. And then she's like, I feel like I watched the movie and never really knew it was what I was watching. But then in the end, all is great in the laundromat world.
That's awesome.
And then she said, but I actually really enjoyed it. And she's like, those rocks. She loved the rocks part.
One of the
like,
most
that was...
one of the most emotional parts of one of the arcs for Joy's character, right? Like
Yeah.
a breakthrough moment happens between these rocks. Like it's insane. Yeah.
It just rocks your world.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
but yeah, like
Yeah.
this movie, like I watched it the first time, mind blown. Watched it a second time, and when I tell you, like I had the exact same feeling. Like I'm still like absolutely shocked. It was so emotional, and like in the emotional times, it would make me laugh, and then it would just like when he said it's a ride, it really is. This is a roller coaster. You're going on loops. You're up and down. In the emotional times, it makes you laugh. In the funny times, it makes you sad. And it's just like, wow, this movie hit. And the music is so good with that violin. It's just
It's like a controlled absurdity, this movie, because
I
there's a moment where
yeah.
it just goes off the rails and you know it's going,
Yeah.
right? And the way
And like
the way it's all, it feels like this movie is called Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it's
and that's literally what it is.
it's literally supposed to make you feel overwhelmed. It's supposed to be arresting, and that's the point. One of the points of the
And-
film. But the way they control the chaos, like this movie is so well executed when
And
it
I
comes
think
to the filmmaking.
my opinion is watching it the second time, like the first time was amazing. I love that like feeling I got of it being ever, but watching it a second time, it grounds it and really shows the quality of what this movie is. Because like this time you expect for everything, you know what's gonna happen,
Right.
and it's still such a ride. It's so well done, and it's just like you just see that quality once you've known everything, and you can really just sit down and look and just focus on different things. Because like it's so hard to on the first time because there's different things happening, different costumes happening, and like the parts where it just shows like a bunch of pictures of her face, which the first time I saw that, my mind was just blown. Like I was like, whoa.
No, man. You know when my mind was blown was when Joy is sitting at the counter at the bar, and then she like tilts her head, and it's like click, click, click.
Oh,
and
that
it's
was
clicking.
so good.
It's like clicking through all.
Oh.
Oh my goodness! I was like,
This movie is so well done. It's just
and like the
I get
clicking and the
chills.
timing and the music, and it's just like, oh my, like this is
And
like this is literally.
Joy had the best outfits. I love them all
Yes,
so
yeah.
much.
No,
I love
yeah,
Joy as a
it's-
character.
it's-
She's my favorite character in this.
It's okay, so let's get into, are you ready to get into spoilers? So like our overall thoughts, we've given them. This is spoiler time. So I'm gonna
It's
critique.
spoiler
I'm gonna
time.
start with my critiques because I'm excited to gush over this movie, and I think we'll do categories again, probably to
All
keep it
right.
restrained, I guess. But I don't know,
But with me, that never happens.
Josh, do you have critiques? Like, do you have anything you didn't like about the film?
No.
Okay, so this movie. Okay, let's. When it comes to the writing, this movie is not as original as everyone says it is.
Hmm.
Like this movie is a love. Like this, Jordan Peele does this a lot too with his movies, and I think Tarantino does too. Shyamalan, like a lot of filmmakers, modern filmmakers are doing this. Where like Tarantino grew up on samurai film, so like Kill
Yeah,
Bill
you can
is like an
tell.
ode to that, right? And a lot of his westerns are odes to that too. So this movie is literally like The Matrix, where it takes place in this like
Hmm.
mundane tax center, and they're doing their taxes, right? And most of the movie takes place in that area, right? Even though it jumps to different multiverses, but this movie starts off just like Agent Smith, or sorry, just like Neo is like this mundane office worker, and then he gets
Hey, make sure not to spoil it. I haven't seen the movie.
okay. Well, I'm gonna kind of spoil some of it, but he gets
Oh,
freed in that moment,
well, I know
right?
that
Just
part.
like she gets freed in that
Yeah.
moment, right? And so it's very much like an Asian version of a very familiar story. And I like how they subverted expectation with that. So the story is actually like I see a lot of comments online that people that didn't like this movie and they said it's very confusing. I actually found it very formulaic. It was
Yeah.
still kind of predictable in
I
good
don't think it was
ways.
confusing.
No, it was pretty
Predictable.
yeah, it was pretty like once I saw where it was going with like and by the way, all the predictability of it I
Your
liked.
your
So,
your thing of predictability is like different because for me, I just don't see how you're predicting this.
well, like right at the beginning, and this is an ode to how well it's written. But right at the beginning, I knew this is a story between the mother and daughter, right? So right
Oh
away,
yeah.
I knew that the bad guy is going to be the daughter because they were antagonists at the very beginning of the film, and that's the point of the movie, right? It's very chaotic opening. Their life is like chaos. Her life is the mom's life is chaos. Evelyn is like trying to run this laundromat. The dad seems really out to lunch and like kind of stupid and silly. And by
Goofy.
the way, that's a twist in the film
I love Waymond.
because he becomes that's the twist, subverting your expectation on how men should be portrayed on film, right? In the macho
Yeah.
way. And because his kindness and gentleness becomes the driving force of her way of fighting through her problems, right?
Hmm.
And so but right away I knew, okay, Joy, I was hoping actually Joy would be the bad guy because then it's this interesting mother-daughter story. And
Yeah.
it's growing through adolescence in a world where you're surrounded by TikTok, surrounded by social media, all these screens, just like the multiverse, by the way. And it's a
Hmm.
parable of the internet age. And so I did find that this movie now, did that formula bug me? No, it didn't. But it isn't as original. The originality of this film comes from the way it's done and the technique of the
Yeah.
filmmaking and the execution. Now, my only critique of this movie, uh, one of the biggest ones, is it is a bit long. Like there was a part in the
Hmm.
third act that where the everything bagel is like in the office building and she's like fixing everyone's problems that she caused because now she's like showing them kindness instead of ruining their lives because she gets sucked into the nihilism and the chaos of Joy, right?
Hmm.
So and then her mind comes back, it's not shattered anymore, and she's like starting to fight back with kindness. That whole sequence felt really drawn out, and it probably there's some
That's fair.
shots that could have been cut
I
down in time because it felt like the plane was like trying to land and it was just like staying in the air for like that extra, when you're flying you're like, I
yeah.
think there might be something wrong because we're in the air too
And you know
long.
what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna like give my combat on that, and
right,
I see what you mean. But on the second watch, like because that scene is a lot of callbacks to what we had before,
right.
and so it like brings it back. When I was watching it the second time, I was really excited for the part where they bring those back, and they show it because like you wouldn't have seen the
like her fixing like her fixing
like
the
the
kindness.
Rakakuni, right? The Rakakuni, you wouldn't have gone that and all those things. Like
Right.
that was one of my. I had so much fun with that point. Like
Well, they were good. They were good. I'm not saying they were bad.
like on the second watch, I was pretty much I was really excited for that part.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the most memorable parts where it had like the Rakakuni.
I'm not necessarily talking about those
sausage
parts.
fingers.
I'm literally talking about like even the moments like where the standoff moment could have been like a minute shorter and like stuff like that. Like it's really kind of nitpicky, but it is.
Yeah.
There's moments
where you're pretty much asking for like 2 minutes off the movie.
Like add it up. So like even in the laundromat where we see the revelation of her realizing that her husband isn't ruining everything. He's actually giving them more time to do their taxes by being kind.
Which she's been doing the whole time.
That whole sequence is like you could have just shaved off a few seconds even or a few minutes off of lingering shots there. It just felt like this is one criticism I have of these directors, and same with Jordan Peele. They are so afraid of the audience not getting the message. They just really hit you over the head with the message. You know, it's actually Shyamalan does it as well, but Shyamalan's not as good.
See,
right? So
something that I wanted to bring up with Shyamalan and his newest movie, Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah,
and this kind of goes on a different place. So these both have movies that have representation of gay couples, right?
Right.
And I don't think Knock at the Cabin did it very well. Like they're very similar in the way where it's like, oh, you're doing this because you hate gay people. But in Knock at the Cabin, it felt very forced. And like it's like, oh, they're gay. And then it's just like they almost felt like they were like, oh, you hate us because we're gay. But it's like no one said that. And it's like that movie felt like they were putting that in there to just be like, look at us, we're so good at this, we're allies, you know. This movie had it where it's like it was real, I feel. And so
you know what I liked about this is it's not, it wasn't preachy in that regard regarding that. It was her stage of life. She was going through that. Her life as a character is chaotic, right? She's not happy. She doesn't think her parents love her, doesn't think her mom loves her, and she is fighting back with nihilism and anarchy, literally, right, with that character. So, and that's the whole antagonist of the film, and it's a very adolescent thing to do, right? So what was interesting is at the end she told there was a scene where she wouldn't tell the grandpa that she is gay, and then at the end she tells the grandpa that she's gay, and she's still mad at her mom. And I really liked that because it wasn't about that. It was think it was much deeper
good representation in that.
But what I liked about it, what I'm saying, Josh, is that it wasn't all just like this narrative of saying she wasn't feeling oppressed because of that. It was a much deeper issue going on in her life. And it was a much more, it was a mother-daughter issue, right? And then that led to one of the most heartfelt scenes where the mom says, I just want to be here with you. Like, that's all I want. And that's what I'm realizing. Like this,
so emotional.
Like this movie is literally starts off with an Evelyn Wang that hates her life, doesn't like her family, tells her daughter she's fat, all this awkward stuff in families.
Oh, that was so awful. She's like, wait, you're a little fat.
Right.
And it's like, oh.
Do you think she's going to say sorry for not sticking up? Right. But this movie is all about finding thankfulness. Like, I saw this one comment, like the movie starts off in this mundane, chaotic spot, right? With imperfect people. And at the end of the movie, all these characters want to do is go back to that life. They don't want to pick these other multiverse lives because that's where they find their happiness and their joy is within their family. And they find thankfulness throughout this whole movie for their life, even though it's running this laundromat and, you know, and filing your taxes and doing normal things. You know, that's a very special message that this movie has, you know?
Yeah.
And even that relationship,
family.
Right. And even that relationship that Joy had was enriched at the end with her girlfriend, right? Because
Yeah.
then Joy is not as like chaotic, right? And
Yeah.
the whole middle part of the movie shows us what's happening within the characters, which is also why I loved it. Like
Mm-hmm.
Joy is the antagonist of the film, and that's how chaotic her life is inside of her. That's what she's feeling. That's what she's going through.
Yeah.
And you get to see it visually represented in all these crazy different ways.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this movie is really good. and
It's so
and like the thing about the representation thing, it's just some people are gay, right? And it's just
yeah.
normal. It's not this like, oh look over here. You know,
Well,
it's not
that's
like
the thing.
it's just
That's what I was
there,
trying to.
right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like, and the same thing like movies went with this with like having African American people in it, where
Right.
it's like don't make them black and that be their only character defining trait. Like they should be a character and just so happen
first.
to be
Exactly.
black.
Exactly.
And so it's like these characters are characters
just
and
who
they
they
just so
are.
happen to be gay.
Yes.
And so it's like the thing with Knock at the Cabin is like I feel like these aren't characters, they're just gay. Like that's all they are. But they should be humans who are gay. Like they're just humans and some humans are gay, some aren't. Some humans are white, some humans are black. It's just like I hate when they're making and it feels like they're pushing an agenda, which this movie doesn't
No.
feel that way.
Because it's
And
telling
what
its story,
I
right?
admire that.
Right.
And it's not killing this story just to be like, hey, look at us. We love gay people.
Yeah.
Hey, look at us. We're not racist because it's an Asian cast. It's like it's just characters. And so that's just what is so admirable about it. And it just
Well, the
Yeah.
heart of it is it wants to tell its story. That's why it's good,
Mhm.
right? And it's
and it goes back to our conversation on the film. It's like they just want to be filmmakers. They just want to make these movies, and that's what they're doing.
so yeah. So we talked about the acting. I guess the acting is great. Everyone in this movie is fantastic. What did you
Yeah.
What did you think of Deirdre, the Jamie Lee Curtis character?
Oh, she was so good.
Yeah.
Like she was insane.
And like
I loved her.
and I love the everything bagel, right? Like the cult of the
Yeah.
bagel and the foreheads, and they like
I really like the scene where she's like, "Why did you staple this
Yeah.
to my forehead?" And she's like, "I didn't. You did it." She's like, "No, why would I do that?"
Well, I loved it when she
it's just like-
stapled it to herself, like right away. She like turns evil. I'm like, oh no, she's evil, and then it's like, bing. So
Yeah,
good.
and then there's like also the part where we first meet her and you like see the awards, which I didn't think anything of it at first.
Right.
But watching the second one, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't unthink of that one scene where they're like trying to shove it up where the sun don't shine.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's literally the perfect award for trying to do that. Like, it was right in front of your face the whole
Right.
time.
Well, when I saw the awards, I was like, oh no. So and that's my other criticism of the movie is the juvenile sexual humor. I still don't like it. Even though
Yeah, that's fair.
some of it is like actually none of it was funny except for the butt plug jumping. Like that was just ridiculous. Okay, so one of the here's the thing that this movie does well is it creates it's using similar formulaic things in other movies, but in its creation of its world, like the world building in this movie is really well done. And
Yeah.
I love because in order to so what they're doing is they're literally just like you would on the internet, right? If you want to learn something, you go on Google, you learn it, right? So if they want to learn a skill, Evelyn goes from her current verse and then has these little things in her ears and she has to do something she normally wouldn't do, right? You have to do something weird or odd, something that surprises the universe. And then you can switch.
Like snorting up a fly.
Snorting up a fly, like saying I love you to Deirdre, who's trying to kill her, right?
She's like,
confess your
oh,
love.
I love that scene where she's like coming down to like knee her in the face and she's like, I love you.
And then what happens is that the things go green, then you can shoot over to another verse and you can be in the consciousness of another version of yourself to learn a new skill. So she learns there's a whole subline or subplot and universe where Evelyn plays Michelle Yeoh, right? Where she becomes a famous actress and she knows kung fu, and it leads her to be this
Yeah.
kung fu actress, and she's famous.
See,
and,
now that you say that, I understand that because I
Yeah.
didn't know who she was
yeah,
before.
it's like literally, and that's when she doesn't choose to marry her husband, right? She gets to be rich and famous, and she gets so then the current Evelyn learns kung fu, and then she's like this kung fu master because she learned it from the other verse. So
See,
that's the parallel
that
between the internet age.
that makes me like this movie even more.
Yeah.
The fact that they did that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Huh.
so like, and then so that's what I mean about the creativity and the world building. And so this scene, these two men are trying to shove this butt plug award in their butts. That was actually funny because
Well, actually, no. It wasn't two men at first. It was just one
right,
man.
and they lost their
And then
powers,
she's trying to fight him
so
off.
they're all fighting,
And then out of
and then everyone
out of
lost their
nowhere,
powers.
this guy who has no pants on flies over. He's like,
because they're trying to do
just
something
lands
odd
on it.
and weird to get their powers back, right? So it's like a race.
And then the other guy comes out of nowhere, and he has
Yes.
a trophy up his butt, and they both have.
And then she rips the trophies
and
out.
then she rips
Yeah.
them both out. It's like,
That part was
what
funny.
is happening?
Yeah, that part was really good. But like the sex
Yeah.
dungeon stuff and the director had a cameo and he was in bondage stuff. Like that was weird. So
Oh, was that him?
yeah, like these men have a weird sexual
That's
fetish.
strange.
So I still don't like that about this movie. But other than that, man, this
I thought it was kind of funny at the end, where she's just like holding him by the tie, and just hitting him.
right.
Like I thought that was funny,
Nah, I didn't like that. It was stupid.
but like I don't know. I thought it was just goofy.
Like spanking him, right?
yeah, I was just like, because like she's just doing that in the middle of this, and he's just I like the Rakakuni.
Okay, so
Wait, that was my favorite joke.
that I love that because it's such a boomer thing. So it's a language barrier
know.
thing, and then it's a boomer thing to get a movie wrong, and the daughter is like Ratatouille, mom, right? Like correcting her.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
Like, that'll happen with my kids.
like that's a joke
probably,
that
right?
you would make.
right?
You'd be like, oh, the
then there's
Rakakuni.
there's this literal guy where there's this timeline, this multiverse or universe where she's working at one of those like stir fry places where you stand in the middle of the table and you're making stir fry. And
You make food in front of them.
right, and this other guy literally has this raccoon
Yeah.
in his chef thing, and the
He's like,
raccoon
he taught me how to boil an egg.
is teaching him how to cook, and like, and then there's this, and then when she becomes mean, because when she becomes like her daughter, right, and her mind is starting to shatter, she like gets the animal impounded into like animal control, and it's really sad, and it's like this, it's like this rough animatronic puppet thing, and it's awesome. Like it looks like, I'm
It's like, "Don't
so
forget
glad
me."
they didn't do CG. Like I'm so glad it looked like a Wes Anderson thing. Like it looked like an old school Star Wars thing. Like it was awesome. It was so funny.
good.
And then she's like running. She's got him on his I can't remember why he couldn't run, but she's got him on his
Because
shoulders.
he was like he's like I'm useless without
Oh, right.
without him.
So
and
she's,
then
like,
after
piggybacking him.
and then after he's just like I can't. It's too much. Like it's too fast. So then he's like we can do this, and throws him on. And then it's like this really awful scene. Well, it's not
it's so
awful. It
good.
just looks awful.
But it
and
looks
she's like,
awful in a good way. Like it looks good.
yeah, it's
so good.
awful in a good way. And it's just
so
like,
fun.
yes.
So like that, like when you hear the line,
And,
like when
and the thing is,
you go,
this is all happening, and then there's an emotional part of it, and you're
Right.
just like, oh my gosh.
we'll get to that.
Like they're having
We'll
a
end with that. But Josh, like that whole scene was birthed out of one sequence between the mother and daughter. Like I thought it was just a funny joke where it's like, oh, she got the name of the movie wrong, and they literally did a whole plot line of that thing. I was like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous.
It's so good.
This is so good. So getting into the emotional stuff, like it mainly happens in the timeline where she is the famous actress. If I'm like, that's where it all starts, right? Because she meets her husband, but it's not her husband because they didn't get married. That's the timeline.
a lot of it happens when she's as the laundromat.
No, the
person.
inciting incident for it all kicking off into that is where he gives the monologue. He's talking to Evelyn. Wayman is talking to Evelyn, but it's literally also talking to the audience, because the way it's shot, there's the fixed shot where they're on both sides, and then there's the close up
Yeah.
where he's literally just giving the monologue to the camera. By the
He's
way,
literally like, I kill people with
one of the
kindness.
best moments of the movie, right? So let's before we get to that moment, some of the lines in this movie are really good. Like
Mhm.
this one, Wayman says to her, like he pretty much says she's terrible, right? Like the original Evelyn. He says, "But you
Yeah.
here, you're capable of anything because you're so bad at everything." And he like keeps
Yeah.
telling her, you're the one because you're so bad at
Oh,
everything."
there's
Yeah.
so many of those things where it's
I was
like,
laughing. Like it's so funny.
or she's like, I just saw a world where you weren't in it. It was so beautiful. It's just like, it's like, oh, poor Wayman.
But then this Wayman that is like rich and famous, or rich business Wayman,
Yeah.
right? He literally says this line. I'm gonna try and find it here. But another line that everyone's talking about is between the rocks. So like there's a sequence where
Oh yeah.
Evelyn and Joy are these rocks, and they just are
Yes, my mom's
sitting
favorite
on the
part.
edge of this cliff, and then the subtitles come up and they're talking to each other. And I think Evelyn says, "Just be a rock." Is it Evelyn that says that? I can't.
Yeah, just no,
Or is that
that's Joy.
Jobu?
It's
Right?
it's like it's like don't talk,
Just
just be a rock.
Yeah, like that's such a profound line. A lot of people are talking about that. Just that idea of like just be who you are. Like you are
Yeah.
literally a rock. Like stop trying to be
Just
other
be a
things,
rock.
right? Yeah. Um. Oh, there was a line that was
I
just
love
so
that
good.
scene where it's like ha 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 ha.
Yes.
They're laughing. It just
Yes.
says ha 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 because it's a silent part of the movie. It's like ha 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 ha, and it just oh, that's so good.
There's so many good moments like that. I'm trying to find this thing that Wayman says, because it is so good.
What is it? The part where he's like, "That's the way you're a fighter."
Okay, this is what he says. He says, this is one of the things he says. He says, "When I choose to see the good side of things, I'm not being naive. It is strategic and necessary. It's how I've lived.
Mhm.
It's how I've learned to survive through everything." And then he literally talks about how he's so, he has everything he wants. She has everything she wants. But there is a side of him that wishes they would have married, right? And at the end of the movie, I don't think it's in that moment. I think it's at the end where he literally says, "All I want is to be in the laundromat and paying taxes and being with you,"
Yeah.
right? And like that's the whole eclipse of the movie, where the whole movie is about, even with the hot dog fingers, right? Because there's a universe where everyone has hot
Oh
dog
gosh,
fingers, but there's
I'm still like in shock from that. Jamie Lee
yeah,
Curtis.
but there is a line where Evelyn
Oh.
literally says, "Even though we have hot dog fingers and we're useless with our hands, we learned how to use our feet," right? Like there is a
Yeah.
theme of human perseverance, even in the midst of absolute mundane suffering, or like, you know what I mean? Or even through trial,
Yeah.
or filing your taxes. Like this whole movie is literally about the trouble with filing your taxes and how terrible
Yeah.
it is in the States, right? And it ends there. It ends back where they have it all together and they're like happy to be together and they're thankful and they've learned it, and they're still filing their taxes, and Deirdre's there, right? And
Mhm.
Evelyn has that moment where her brain's starting to crack again and you think she's going to lapse out of it, but then she chooses to stay in the moment.
Yeah.
Just like Joy was like, "Just be a rock," right?
Yeah.
And so like that's what this movie's
Wow.
about, being content in who you are, not wanting to be other people or other things. And I do think that's why I love this movie so much with the message, because seeing all the other multiverses and even the fast cutting and the clicking and all the fast movements between the multiverses, it is a representation of the internet now, with how we have
Mhm.
screens everywhere, we have social media everywhere, we can see anything we want. In like, I watched this one YouTube video and this guy was saying we can get knowledge that someone would learn in a lifetime in 10
Mhm.
minutes, right? And
Yeah.
it's filled Joy with like, it's funny that her name is Joy because she is so joyless, right? And she's not happy. So Yeah, this movie is very good, very smart in that way, and I really did appreciate it for that stuff. So it's a bit long.
Yeah,
Some of the stuff could have been cut
but
down a bit.
it's so good though.
Um, so that's like my main critique of the movie, and the sexual stuff I didn't love. So even though I'm gonna watch this movie multiple times because it's so good.
Yeah.
So Josh, what would you give this? Is there anything else you want to say about it before we do our ratings?
I I don't know. It's such a good movie. I would watch this movie again.
Like the
Like I enjoyed it
cinematography
just
and
as much on the second time.
the cinematography and the filmmaking, like this, the visual effects are just incredible in this film.
It's a work of art.
Yes, like the
And
the shot where she,
and it
yeah, you go.
it honestly proves that like you don't need a lot
Less is
to
more.
make a lot. And so and I there's one thing I wanted to mention but I forgot, or like you just kept rambling or something.
sorry.
I don't know.
I just love this movie. I'm gushing.
But this movie is very similar to Bullet Train, as in a lot is happening, and you haven't seen Bullet Train, right?
Not yet.
Where it's like a lot is happening and it's crazy, but it's still coherent and it still makes sense. And I enjoy that. I've learned to enjoy that a lot because I really like Bullet Train. It's just when you can make everything happen, but also have it make sense, that's when, but also at the same time, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
It just works somehow. And yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say.
I just like, as soon as I finished this movie, I just had so much I wanted to say. Obviously, right? You can tell.
Yeah.
Because this movie, I do think the style of the film is a tad bit overrated. I think if other filmmakers tried to make a movie like this, it would be a hot mess, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
with the constraints they had, with the budget they had, like, this also proves that when you have limits on your budget, your movie will probably look better, right? Because
Mhm.
you're forced to film things in certain ways. Like compare this to Ant-Man and how Ant-Man looks, where
Yeah.
you have all this budget and you just throw everything on a
Ant-Man's
green
a potato.
screen. Like Ant-Man looks terrible compared to this movie. Like there's some shots in this movie that are literally like, even when they're just stationary with their face facing the camera, and then the lights are moving around their face really fast.
Oh
It's
yeah.
literally someone standing there with like different lights and just spinning the lights.
And there's
But it looks so good,
yeah.
right? Or when she's getting pulled through the multiverses, right? Backwards. She's literally on a
Mhm.
rope getting pulled backwards, and they have LED. The one director, the Asian one, Daniel Kwan, he literally taped a 4K like iPhone, or like an
Yeah.
iPhone Pro or what 14 or whatever, the newest iPhone, onto his chest and just walked downtown and like around different parts of the city. And
Oh
that's the
yeah.
background. And it's like
Mhm.
green screen behind her, and then it's like LED TVs on the sides. And it
Wow.
makes it look
That's
like it's
cool.
going by. Like and it
Mhm.
looks so good. Like it looks unique and it looks interesting. It looks
It looks special.
right.
Also, I was thinking about the scene where it shows all her face, and I'm like, I just can't. I'm just imagining like where they're like taking all these pictures
Yeah.
and they're just changing the. There's like okay, same look. You have to say look the exact same, just with a different. Like it sounds so much fun. Like this movie looks like so much fun to film.
Yes.
And my mom was like, who would like read the script and agree to like go into this film? And I'm like, well, it's different. Like, why wouldn't you want to be in this film? It seems like so much fun. And so,
Well, and you have that
it-
like that strong character anchor, right? Like
yeah.
a coming of age story about a burnt out mom. That's what this movie is, you know? Like it's
Hmm.
not even really about family, it is, but it's literally about Evelyn finding herself again.
Yeah.
And like the moment where the grandfather wanted to kill Joy and she's like
Yeah.
back to her normal self and she's like stab
Killjoy.
her, right? With this X-Acto knife, and it's like brutal. But
It's kind of crazy how the whole movie they're trying to kill Joy.
well, but Evelyn says no, like we can fix her, right? Like we
And it's
can,
just like
yeah,
in the fact where it's like her name is Joy.
yes,
It's like they're going out of their way to kill that happiness, and she's like, no.
yes. And they end up saving her. They end up, I mean, it's kind of ambiguous in that regard, but there is that hug at the end, and
Mm-hmm.
And there is
Well,
that.
is it ambiguous?
No, I don't think it is actually now, because there's that shot at the
No.
beginning where you see the happy family, right? And then you see it
And
again
then
at the end.
when they do taxes together.
And by the way, that
It
intro
literally
shot where it
the
goes
same
into the
way it
mirror.
starts. Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying something, Josh?
Well, it just ends the same way it starts. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
And like just literally, yeah, that shot of going into the mirror and like pulling the mirror out, very Hitchcock Cockian, where it's zooming in and zooming out. Like it
It's
was
like Birdman.
yes, very similar to that. Yeah. Yeah, this movie is awesome. Very special, very good. Josh, what would you give this movie out of 10 doors?
10. I give this movie 10. Favorite movie of 2022. Brilliant. I loved it. It felt unique. It felt different.
Mm-hmm.
And like it really deserved the awards. Like I feel like a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, I guess they deserved it. But like this movie legitimately deserved all the praise it got. And I'm glad that movies like this can exist and still get praise. Because it means that like people are gonna be more willing to take that chance.
Right.
And not just like do the same thing as everything else. So
well,
yeah.
And I'm happy it won visual effects. I'm happy it won for the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough for me. Like it's not the best movie of 2022 in my opinion. I think the three best movies of the year were Top Gun, this movie, and Nope.
Yeah,
those are the
honestly,
three best movies.
I can agree with that.
And I think
Puss in Boots.
I think Nope is my favorite. Well, Top Gun is so good too, but I haven't seen Puss in Boots. I heard it's good. So,
which, by the way, those three movies all came out in the same year, and I've seen all of them twice.
Right.
And I don't watch movies twice.
They are so good.
A lot of times. Also, Puss in Boots I've watched twice. So like that movie, that 2022 was such a good year of film, where it's like movies that you can rewatch and enjoy, and it was a comeback year from. It's just wow, wow.
For me, out of 5 stars, I will give this movie 4.5 out of 5 stars.
That's what I was thinking you were gonna give it.
So I was like 4 or 4.5.
Look at that, you're predictable.
I am predictable. Yeah. I still think I have issues with this movie in some regard, and I don't think it's as original as everyone thinks it is. But the way it's executed is wholly original. Right?
So original.
So that's where you get, and that's like honestly, it reminds me of Kill Bill. Because Kill Bill,
I haven't finished Kill Bill.
Man, it's such a stylish movie. Like this movie is.
I started that movie and then just.
You got to watch that movie, and this movie is so stylish.
It's on here, so I have to watch it.
Now, this movie has more emotional pull than Kill Bill 1. Kill Bill 2 has the emotional pull, but it's this movie reminded me of that, where it's like so stylish. Like it's just like even when Joy is killing those like policemen or like the security guards or the cops with the confetti, like their head blows up into confetti. And
I love that. Yeah. And then it absolutely destroyed that one guy. Like threw him in the air, changed it, and then suplex. Crushed his head. Yeah. And then he's like the nunchucks. Oh gosh.
So I think I gave Nope 4 out of 5 stars or 4.5.
Did you? What did I give Nope?
I gave it a 4 at least, and I gave Top Gun a 5. So
I don't think I gave Top Gun a 5.
I don't think
a 10.
I think Top Gun is a better film than this movie just because it's a bit leaner and it's just
I think I would rather watch this movie over Top Gun.
Yeah,
but also
that's fair.
It depends on mood.
I was gonna say
what I'm feeling.
I was gonna say I don't really compare even those 3 movies. I do think
none of them can be compared
in style and content. I think Nope and this movie have more in common, just with the type of metaphor it's using, the type of imagery it's using. Jordan Peele uses a lot of the same techniques that Daniels do when it comes to
the Daniels.
Yeah, when it comes to
Daniel squared
symbolism and character names, like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's very on the nose.
Something that I thought was cool is I didn't get any of the story.
Right.
I did not get any of the story or the symbolism. on either of the watches because it's just so hard to take in everything. This is a movie you kind of have to watch more than once to get anything out of it. And well, not
Well,
anything, but it's just
Josh,
like to
I'm
get
gonna
more and more.
defend this movie a bit because I disagree with you
No,
in some ways.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Right.
I'm saying this in a positive way where it's like it's so rewatchable in the fact that you can get something different out of it. Like this one, I felt I got a lot of the music out of it and just
Yeah, the
like the
music's really good.
score.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, it was like the visuals and the cinematography, and like the next time, I can see more of that syllable, what symbolism
Right.
and like storytelling from that. And I just enjoy that I can do that and like get rewatchability out of it. And I just
Well, yeah, and that's what good art is, right? Like
yeah.
the reason I said what I said is because I do think it does a very good job of telling. Like this is why I'm confused why people are so confused by it. Like clearly you're just not paying
Yeah, I
attention
don't.
because like it does a good job of like it feels like a wild ride. It's like a good amusement ride, right?
Mhm.
Like not that it's like an amusement ride, but it's like a roller coaster should make you feel like you're gonna die while knowing where you're going and making sure it's curated and you know what I mean? That's what
Yeah.
this movie feels like. It feels like it's just
It makes you feel like you're gonna
going
die.
off
I'm
the
joking.
rails and you're like, what? But you know what's going on. You know the
Yeah,
character
no,
dynamics.
this is like you're going on a
You
roller
know
coaster,
where
but
it's
it takes
going.
a turn off
Right.
and then back on.
And like
and then off and then
you
back.
know what's because I the whole time I knew nothing about this movie and I knew exactly I was hoping there would be family redemption in this movie. I was hoping and when
Mhm.
there was, it was such an earned moment and
Well, and something I've realized a lot with films now is family redemption is a huge theme that's being explored
yes.
in this day and age. Like you saw it in Fast and Furious, you saw it in this movie, you saw it in Ant-Man. Like it's
Well,
just
this
that's a
movie,
big
yeah,
theme.
and this movie, it just feels so genuine. Like it's not like the moment
Mhm.
is kind of Oscar baity, cheesy, but like it's kind of it. Like I saw one criticism from Red Letter Media, and they said that, but in a way, it's almost like an ode to those moments in old movies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like when the
But
music
also
swells and you
the
know the moment's
drama in
happening.
this
Yes,
movie, because I've mentioned before that dramas and like coming of age stories are my favorite movies, and those parts they hit. They
yeah,
really just
like
hit.
that's yeah,
And the music, which is the music that I love from movies
yes,
in driveways, it's the same.
yeah,
It hit and I felt something and I was like,
yeah.
"Yes, I feel something. I love
Like this
feeling
movie
something."
made me
This movie made me feel,
I
and it's
as
just
a father with as
delicious.
a father with one of my fears of my daughter not being in a good relationship with me, right? I like got emotional. I was like, man, The Last of Us made me cry. Now this movie's making me cry when the mom is literally just like,
I absolutely love that these movies are making me feel something, and it's something Marvel can never
no,
do.
and
And
yeah,
it's
it's so
just
good. Yeah, it's
even like a man called Otto, it made me feel something. It's just the Fablemans made me feel something. It's just I love that these movies are coming out. Puss in Boots made me feel like I could go on forever. It's
no,
just
this movie is
mm,
it has a
mm,
big heart, and
yummy.
it's nice to watch. I wasn't expecting on this movie. I thought it would be stylish and like
I
fun
went into
and
it blind
but
and
like there's this whole character arc and this narrative of literally fighting people with kindness, literally reconciling with your estranged
kill him with
family and
kindness.
like that's literally what she did at the end. She killed her enemies with kindness. I was like,
I know, and googly eyes.
yes.
This made me
Oh.
want to go out and buy googly eyes.
When she like throws them and she uses a third eye, which is a
Oh,
total
I love that.
not intentional, but a total mockery of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, right?
Yeah.
And then like she
Well, this
throws
movie came out, but
or she flicks,
wait, did this movie come out before?
but they filmed it before they would have known
Yeah.
about
Either
yeah.
way.
So, but she flicks the eyes into like the
Oh,
grandfather and they
I
go into his
love it
eyes.
so
It's so
much.
funny.
The googly eyes were my
Yeah.
favorite aesthetic,
Yeah.
and it made me want to like go out and buy googly eyes and put them all over my room.
So that is our review of everything, everywhere, everywhere,
Everything,
everywhere, all at
everything,
once.
everywhere, all at once.
And
Wow.
this movie is a
Wow.
ride.
If you made it here, if you made it this far, make sure to text or just message us. Googly Eye Paradise. Yeah. And also, we better end this soon because I'm running out of time to do my Duolingo without losing my streak. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, an hour and a
Remember,
half.
Google Eye
A
Paradise.
good solid episode. Thank you.
By the
Thank you for
way,
listening and
today will
watching.
be my 105th day of Duolingo. Because I know if I stop, that bird will get me and kill
We
my
still have
family.
an hour, Josh, so you're fine.
I know, it's just, yeah.
You're getting nervous. You got the sweats.
I am. Like, I'm so...
But like
I'm like airplane
you've
sweating
been
right
wanting to
now.
review this movie for a long time, so
I know.
there it is.
And I kept telling you to watch
I know,
this
I
movie
just-
and you just wouldn't watch it.
And it's not because I just didn't make time for it. It wasn't because I
Yeah.
thought it would be
This is-
stupid or
This is a movie you make time for.
yeah, I'm gonna watch it again.
You know?
And Michelle Yeoh, by the way, is phenomenal. She's
Yeah.
thank
but
goodness she won the Oscar. Yeah.
Joy's character is also...
Yeah. You love
Joy was my
I love
favorite character.
Michelle.
I love Joy.
You gotta watch Crouching Tiger, my friend.
Her teddy
Yeah.
bear costume.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Catch us next week for episode 18.
Where we might actually do the
We're
top
gonna do
5 guilty
top 5
pleasures,
guilty pleasures,
which I found some.
critically bad
I
movies
did it.
that we love. That we will be doing that next week.
Spoiler alert, half of mine are Christmas movies.
Let us know. Let us know in the comments what you think of this movie. Answer Josh's
Yeah.
poll on the Twitterverse there.
Please, like,
Let's get
interact
let's
with me.
get
Show some love
interaction.
for Party Shark.
And let us know what you want to like. What movies do you want us to review this year? What movies do you want us to give our opinion on? Let us know in the comments by email. And you can find all that in the description down below. If you're listening to the podcast, you can look at that in the description of the podcast. By the way, some of the descriptions are pretty funny, kind of. There's some jokes in there, like the one week where Josh was worried about me.
They're pretty funny.
Where Josh was worried about me doxing myself. I put my personal email in there in that description. So,
oh, did you actually?
yeah, you got to read them, man.
Oh, I didn't even read them.
You got to read them. I put little Easter eggs in the descriptions sometimes, most of the time. So read them.
Also with the names.
So, but thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week.
You better call this one like something googly eye. Don't forget to close the door on the way out.
Ciao.